Witcher 3. I just replayed all the way through. Loved that game. Really good game.
Would you fancy playing Geralt? Because Netflix are making a Witcher TV show.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be an amazing role. Have you read the books?
No, I haven't. The Polish books.
The books are amazing. The books are really, really good.
Okay. Yeah, because I think they're going to be adapting those for the TV show as well.
Yeah, it's from what I understand, it's a little bit of both. Yeah. They're picking a bit from the game and a bit from the book, or a lot from the books. But the books I started reading, and they are well worth the read. They're really, really good.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. If you didn't see the news this morning, or you couldn't tell from the clip that I put at the beginning of this, Henry Cavill has officially been cast as Geralt of Rivia for the Witcher Netflix TV series. So we gotta freak out about this. I know there are a lot of questions about what's going on with the characters and the story for the TV show and what this means about him being Superman in the DC universe. So I'll address the Witcher stuff first, then I'll talk about the Superman stuff. If you're a big Witcher fan, you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. I will talk about release date because they start filming the series in November. They're doing 8 episodes, so they'll probably be filming for most of the spring, meaning that they could possibly get it out by the end of next year. Now, because they're filming in November, it's going to be winter in Europe where they're filming, so maybe in keeping with that tone, they also want to release it during winter next year. Like, why would you shoot a winter-based show, then release it in the middle of the summer? It would just seem kind of weird. Most of you will probably remember this is not Henry Cavill's first fantasy series. He was the Duke of Suffolk on Tudors for an entire series run.
Said he could build a mirror large enough that if set upon the cliffs of Dover, His Majesty would be able to see, reflected in it, the movement of French ships in and out of the port of Boulogne. You see what I mean, Your Grace?
Do you think he's mad?
So imagine a white-haired Duke of Suffolk riding around kicking people's asses. But if there was any confusion about what kind of story they're going to be doing, this is based on the books, not on the video game. The story of the games actually pick up after the novels leave off. So the games are sort of like a spiritual sequel to the books. The original author of the main series had nothing to do with the story of the video games, though. So that was all the studio just spinning out based on his work. They haven't confirmed all the characters, but the showrunner has talked about some specific ones that I'll talk about in a second. But just in terms of where the story picks up, par for the course for big fantasy series like this, like Game of Thrones or the Lord of the Rings series, is that you start with a really big battle or some crazy action scene, then you either flashback or start to explain who the characters are. So like Game of Thrones pilot opens with the White Walkers, then you go to all the heroes. So just imagine them opening this series with him saving someone from a monster or taking one down. Then for all the people that have no experience with the characters before, they sort of explain who he is, what he does. Roving silver-haired monster hunter for hire with crazy powers. Like I said, there's only going to be 8 episodes, so it's probably going to be a relatively self-contained story. I'm guessing that they want to get at least 5 to 7 seasons out of this, but because Henry Cavill is such a big actor, what they might have done in order to lock him down for multiple seasons, like more than you would normally expect, is to just give him more money. It's just the idea that this is going to be Netflix's version of Game of Thrones. They want it to go big. They're spending big dollars, so they want to keep their actor locked down. Like, they don't want to have a situation in season 2 where he's not under contract and it takes him forever to figure it out. What I'm expecting is that they'll just adapt the book story and they'll just slowly move through season to season depending on how many episodes they do. If they only do 8 episodes for season 1 and it's crazy popular, maybe they'll do 10 episodes for season 2, but I wouldn't expect them to go past 10 episodes a season because Henry Cavill still wants to be a movie star, and if you're shooting like 13, 15, 16 episodes a season or more than that, you don't have time to film a big movie, and he definitely wants to be Superman in future DC movies. So a lot of people started freaking out when they're like, hey, why is Henry Cavill suddenly doing a TV series? Even though The Witcher is a huge TV series and it's really awesome, people thought that it might mean that he's not going to be Superman anymore. I think honestly what happened is DC told him that they weren't quite ready and didn't have the story or the right story to make Man of Steel 2. So they told him that, yeah, we'll totally renegotiate your contract for Superman and you'll continue to appear in cameos in future films while we figure out the next Man of Steel film. But because you have all this extra time on your hands to go do other movies, just go do whatever you want. So they're not postponing Man of Steel 2 because he's doing The Witcher. He's doing The Witcher because they postponed Man of Steel 2. Chicken or the egg, which came first? they'll still make it. There were rumors that he did actually renegotiate his contract for like 6 more appearances. Like one of those would be a cameo in the Shazam movie, maybe a cameo during the Flashpoint movie, and any other future DC movies that would fit the tone of his character. But the next big question you all have is who's going to play Yennefer? If Henry Cavill's going to be Geralt, who will be his Yennefer? They have not announced who, but she did say that she actually sat down with Henry Cavill for the first time 4 months ago. So obviously he was their most important hire, so I'm guessing that within about a month of that, they had already started interviewing people for the Yennefer role. So they probably already know who it is and they're just waiting to sign the contract. The reason why they announced this Henry Cavill news today is because they probably just got him to sign his contract last week. It probably took that long to figure out how much they were going to pay him, what the schedule was going to be. So what'll probably happen is they continue to lock the other actors down. They'll announce the other characters, like Amir Vildforts. Obviously, he's the ultimate big bad of the series. Don't know if he'll be the big villain of the first season or if they'll go a little bit smaller and then work up to him. But the showrunner talked about 10 other core characters, including Amir, Vildforts, Yennefer, and Ciri. They kind of confirmed the timeline in their description of the way that they view Ciri per the books. So they describe her as relentless, growing child with more power than she perhaps realizes. The writers explain her story as being one about facing fears and finding a family of her own that will stand beside her through the harsh moments of her journey. So, very young version of Ciri, but we don't know exactly how old. Once we know how old she is, you could place Geralt in the timeline, because there's a very specific timeline in the books where she encounters him for the first time. The way they describe Yennefer is proud and contradictory in how her story is all about seeking to fill a hole in her heart that she desperately wishes wasn't there. Though sometimes she feels vulnerable, she is loath to show it. The way they describe Triss makes it sound like they might try to do the love triangle from the video games, but that wasn't something from the books. The video games try to recreate that by giving Geralt some amnesia, so no idea if they're going to try and tackle that or how they'll try to handle it. But hopefully that gives you an idea for some of the cast that they've been talking about. I don't know if anything's going to change between now and when they actually start filming, but I'm assuming that these 10 core people will be a core part of the series at some point. Maybe not everybody quite as big during season 1, but I'm sure by the time we get to season 2, season 3, they'll all be a pretty big cast, Game of Thrones style. Even though Game of Thrones seems like it's always had a really large cast of characters, they didn't start out that big in season 1. They kept expanding until they got to about season 6 and started killing people off and cutting storylines. Then they started to whittle it down a little bit. So I'm assuming it's going to be the same type of treatment with the Witcher series. But like I said, not expecting this to drop before next winter. Just because around the time Game of Thrones season 8 premieres, they'll probably be finishing filming their series. So it'll take them probably all summer and all fall to get through post-production. So really good news, we'll have Game of Thrones Season 8 early next year, around the end of April. Hopefully they'll finish Witcher by the end of that year, we'll freak out about that, and then the year after that, they'll probably be close to completing the Lord of the Rings TV series that Amazon is doing. So a lot of really awesome fantasy TV is coming up in the next couple of years. And just remember that even though Game of Thrones main series is ending next year, their prequel series will start the year after that. So each year thereafter, we'll have Game of Thrones, Witcher, and Lord of the Rings all in the same year for hopefully 5 to 7 years. So I am really excited. I'll do more casting videos for Witcher as we learn about more of the characters, but leave all your requests in the comments below. Click here for my review of the Spider-Man PS4 game that just dropped, and click here for brand new Avengers 4. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.